Hello, welcome back to the Agile Commute podcast, where we will laugh and explore fresh insights and practical advice to re energize and inspire your leadership, business, and Agile journey. We are your co hosts, John Burns and Casey Sharp. And thanks for joining us on the ride today. Hey, Casey, how's everything going?
Oh, I'm here. How are you?
Great. Enough with the pleasantries because I got a big topic and some questions about personality tests because I've been thinking about this recently, and so have you, I think. And
Oh, this is all we're doing at work right now. Yeah.
well, we have done this at where I work too, and we do several versions of this. So here are my questions. Personality tests, what are they? Are they useful? Do they help a team become more effective, or are they just fluff? And how do you use them if you're going to use them in a team setting at work? Like, what's the most effective way to use them?
Yeah. Okay. Well, love this topic. So right now at work, we are, or I don't even really remember why I brought this up or how it came up again, but I was talking to somebody about personalities and somebody mentioned either Myers-Briggs, I don't know. But so there's one that I really like that's called 16 personalities. And I know we're going to talk about a whole bunch of them, but the 16 personalities one is free, which I love free.
MBTI. Oh, yeah.
No, it's not. It's different. On their website, if you go and read, they have leveraged several of these heavily leaning on Myers-Briggs, but there's other stuff that's
Huh.
incorporated. So
I thought it
maybe
was
I
completely Myers
well,
Briggs.
maybe
Huh.
I misinterpreted what I read, but when I went to go read through their whatever the thing is that they use to put this together, I mean, the questions that you take when you take 16 personalities is not the standard Myers-Briggs questions. They are different.
Oh, I
Um
didn't know that. Oh,
and the results and the different like descriptions and interpretations I think are also different. Like Myers-Briggs is its own thing. Like this is definitely not the same test. Which, by the way, my boss took it and he was like, oh my God, this was so much nicer and easier than Myers Briggs because it's different questions. They're a lot clearer, way fewer,
a lot fewer. Yeah.
and it's free. Whereas Myers Briggs, typically you have to pay for a whole bunch of other stuff. So
Yeah, it's true.
it is different. Although, yes, I think a lot of people equate them, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of extra credit. And like maybe I'm wrong. I could have misread, but I think
No, I think you're right.
just trying to look at their website, but our approach, that's what I was looking at.
No, it's not the same.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, great. Thank you. I thought I was like
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, they have like different models that they've used, some of which is from Myers-Briggs.
Huh.
But yeah, they have a separate, it's like a different thing that they've modified. And anyway, all of that to say, we've been talking about this at work, and like I said, I don't remember why it came up. I don't remember the catalyst for everybody doing it, but everyone at work has been just very jazzed about this. And so some people have been taking it and then making other people guess. And so it's been a very fun
Mm.
activity of like, oh, what are you? And it's like, oh, guess what I am? And then, oh, no, you're wrong. Or, oh my God, you got it right. And people have been kind of, really into that recently. So I've been thinking a lot about personality tests and this type of thing. So I am particularly excited to talk about this, especially because I'm really happy that my team is really into it because I have been on teams where people don't like it at all. They don't want anything to do with it and think it's very dumb, but my team is so into it, which just makes it more enjoyable. So
Yeah, where I work, everyone is well, not the same level of enthusiasm, but it goes from acceptance at a minimum to what you were talking about, trying to guess what other people's is and asking each other what theirs is, and it comes up frequently.
what do you mean when you say acceptance?
Well, nobody where I work rejects personality tests in general.
Oh, okay.
Some are skeptics, some are like, "Oh, they're just like they narrow you, they put you in an artificial box." And then when you talk for a little bit, and this gets into a little bit of the what are they, we always arrive at, well, it's not definitive. You're not this personality type all the time. This is more of your natural type when you took the test. And then it's supposed to represent how you normally are, but when you're under stress, you may become something different. Or when circumstances change, you might exhibit different personality traits, so it's not 100% all the time.
Yeah. Oh my god, we should talk about that at some point. I'm having an identity crisis recently, but that's a can of
Yes.
worms we should not open, probably. But,
Yeah, and that's like Simon Sinek has a talk on that too, where a person's performance is heavily influenced by the environment around them.
yeah. In my opinion, well, I agree with that. I think the other aspect that I don't know if Simon Sinek mentions or maybe other people mention is I also think that my behaviors change based on the type of work that I'm doing. And maybe that's still considered environment. I sort of think of those
I
as
think so.
different things. But yeah, I mean, like, depending on the type of work I am accountable to do, I feel like some of my behaviors morph a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's part of the environment. Yeah.
Okay, well, can you repeat the question? Because I already forgot it.
First question. I'm going to go question by question.
Okay,
There's a
great.
couple of them. First one is, what are they in general? What are they?
Okay, well, it's a test and it tells you everything you need to know about every aspect of your personality without any variation.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly what I just said. Yep.
No, 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 no. But yeah, I mean, I think we've sort of danced around it. There are so many different theories and models and frameworks that are ultimately it's a bunch of questions, whether it's like true, false, agree, disagree, a scale, different types of ways to measure this to ultimately give you a sense of who you are as a person and some of the qualities and traits that you exhibit or have, or maybe you don't even exhibit them. Maybe they're like, deep within type of thing. And
Yeah.
there are some that are more oriented to the workplace. There are some that are more oriented to just you as a person. There is at least one that I think we're going to talk about that is very, well, I think of it as a very work corporate specific type of thing. And then there are some other ones that we're going to talk about that I think are more overarching, like the 16 personalities one has all aspects of your life included. But yeah, I mean, what are they? They're just a test that tries to take information that you say about yourself and give you some sort of interpretation to help you either understand yourself better and then ultimately, if shared with other people, help other people understand about you and how to best interact with you so you guys can have this more optimal relationship. Was there anything that you feel like I missed or you wanted to add?
Oh, yeah. I wanted to add that in my experience, because I've taken several, the questions, I think this is true for all the ones that I've taken. The questions are primarily behavioral based and preference based. So they'll ask, they'll either ask, do you agree or disagree that you tend to be more detail oriented, or they'll give you a list and they'll say, which ones of these do you value most? And one of them's like a detail oriented one. Another one is a more creative oriented one and stuff. So it has to do with what you tend toward and what your preferences are. And again, because it's preference and behavioral based, and we just said your environment affects your performance. So it can be temporary. So if you're in a work situation where you're under duress and you take one of these things, it may not be the same as if you're to move on to a different company and it's a much better environment. You may have a different personality at that point, depending on the test.
So this is going to deviate slightly from the what are they question, but something you said I thought was really interesting. And I literally just talked to somebody about this like 2 days ago. And they took the 16 personalities test and they were like, well, I took it while I was at work. I'm going to wait till to take it over the weekend again to see if my results are different, which I thought was really interesting that they said that because they themselves acknowledged that they may be behaving differently when they're at work than when they're not, which was kind of interesting that they even noticed.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I think maybe one of the additional questions here, like how to use them in a team setting at work, maybe this is a test to see if the environment at work is a healthy one. And how you can tell is if you take a personality test outside of work and you take it at work and they're dramatically different, something's wrong, right? I mean,
Well, maybe.
unless your home life is not so great, then,
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, it might not even be like a good or bad. It might just be different to adapt to the situations that you have.
Ooh, that's a philosophical topic there. I disagree. So I tend to think if
No.
I want to be my authentic self in any situation, and I define that as integrity. So I want to have integrity, which means I don't morph like a chameleon depending on my environment. I hold the same values.
Like, why is that a bad thing though? Like, if you are really
I
like,
change.
yeah, but yeah, why does that have to be bad?
Hmm.
You could have two really great personality traits, even though personality traits shouldn't really either be good or bad, which is a whole other philosophical debate. But if you're really process oriented at work and you're really emotional and caring at home, I'm just banking that up,
Okay.
right? Like those
Yeah,
two
yeah.
aren't both bad things. They're just different things based on what you need to do at a given moment.
So this has to do a little bit with what are they? So, like you said earlier, some of them they're different, right? They're different. So what you just said, I'm looking at the 16 personalities right now, and mine process oriented is not exactly in there
Well,
so
not on
much. It
yours
has to
because
do
you're
with
probably not process oriented.
yeah, no, but I mean, like, it has, like, this extroversion, intuitive feeling. These are more tendencies and traits. Like, DISC, I think that might come out more in the DISC, and it's a different test, right? So I think it depends on the personality test.
Yeah, that may be so.
So certain personality tests, it might be the same work versus home. Your character might be the same. But other personality tests has more to do with how your work style is, your style of communication at work, or your approach to work,
Well,
and that could be different.
here's another factor, right? Because I just pulled up the disc wheel. Some of these, especially since it's a disc, like a literal circle, you're not fully one or fully the other. Some people oscillate between some of these traits. Even with the 16
I'm looking at
personalities,
mine,
let's
and
say,
I don't oscillate.
well, good
I'm
for
all
you.
promoter.
I don't know what to tell you. On the
Ah,
other hand, there's at least one of them. I don't remember. I have to, when we go in deep into each of these, I'll look. But like they give you the little sliders and the 16 personalities. And one of
I
the,
learned that I am one-dimensional.
well, that's a good thing for you to learn about. And then you get to reflect and think about it. How does that make you feel? Um,
One-dimensional?
but like there's some people who are in more of these in between states, and I think they can be more influenced by their environment or like what needs to get done in that given moment. Just as an example, I think my disc was between the blue and the yellow of conscientious and steadiness. And so there are
Mhm.
aspects of my personality for both of those. I'm not one dimensional like some people around here. And so,
You say
depending,
that like it's a bad thing.
I mean, I'm not saying anything. You said that. I didn't say anything. I don't know what you're talking about. But my point is that it may not be a bad thing that you show up differently in different environments. It just may be a matter of how you need to behave in a given moment, and you just are able to do both of those things. Anyway, that's just one wee little lady's opinion over here.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, well, I feel like we've probably thoroughly confused everyone as to what these are.
They're tests. You said I'm gonna summarize. You said that they are tests, and they measure well, I'll say they're an indication of your preferences and style,
You say preferences, that seems weird.
natural tendencies,
Yeah, tendencies makes more sense to me, but
tendencies. We'll say tendencies. Yeah.
yeah.
So, second question.
Okay.
This is kind of loaded. Are they useful?
It depends who you ask. Also, I think it depends on which
Hmm.
test you use.
Good point. Why don't we just go into what tests there are right now?
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to just say that ultimately, though, I do think they're useful when you find a good one and you use it not for evil. When you use it for good
Yeah.
and you use the right
Oh, that's
one,
true. Yeah.
I think we should talk about some of the pitfalls later of some of these. I'm happy to just jump into some of the specific tests that we had teed up. But yeah, I wanted to just mention that I think this could go terribly wrong if used for evil. But then you could also argue most things could be used for evil. But in general, I think they're great, and I find them very helpful to provide me indicators and also to open up conversations with people to talk more about it. And then it's a good way to kind of get to know people around you better. Again, using it as a conversation starter rather than just like a, oh, well, you're a such and such. So that's just who you are. And I'm going to treat you exactly like they tell me to treat you. Like that's not how they're intended to be used. So I think if they're used as intended, they are useful.
Yes. So to add to that, we had a book club. It's going to be a little bit of a tangent, but we had a book club on a book called Read People Like a Book.
Mhm.
And there's one chapter that was on personality tests, and they go into four of them, Big Five MBTI, something called Kiersey temperaments and Enneagram. And in general, the author's opinion was there's no one size fits all. It doesn't cover every aspect of your personality, and it could change, just all the things that we've been saying before. The one thing it does do is in order to read people like a book, you first have to figure out what their normal communication pattern is. So think of it like a waveform. There's a certain waveform that a person has. And in order to determine if something's authentic or not, if it fits within their normal pattern, you should be good to go, unless they're lying constantly. And that's their normal pattern. So they should be good to go. But if something's outside that pattern, if there's a jump, like if there's all of a sudden the tone of their voice gets different, or they start talking much faster, or something's different, then that's something you want to explore a little bit further. I'm not saying it's a lie or anything like that, but that's something you may want to look into. Like, oh, they're stressed because of something. So, from their perspective in the book, the authors they say that a personality test can fast forward relationship building, so you can more quickly form as a team. So that was their take, and I tend to agree. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. The thought that popped in my head is, oof, yeah, talk about every socially awkward person known to man, i.e., me. And like, what are those fluctuations? Oh, you're uncomfortable because you're interacting with another person? Yeah, okay, got it. That's what I thought of when you explained that.
Yeah, so in that case, um, so someone's normal pattern is stressed, and then when they become relaxed, that's something like, oh well, something's different about you. Oh, you're relaxed. Something relaxed you.
Well, that was
That's
like the
interesting.
I think this was on Monday. I came in and I said good morning to somebody and I smiled and they were like, "Oh, she smiled at me first thing in the morning."
I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, well, okay, hi." And she was like, "Oh my God." She said good morning to me with a smile. And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to go back to being cranky now. Thanks a lot for ruining this moment we had."
What
Um,
personality is that?
I grouch Oscar.
There should be a Sesame
Perhaps.
Street one. That'd be great. There probably is a Sesame Street
Oh
like
my
personality
God.
test.
Well, this isn't a personality test, but we did do like which Muppet do you feel most aligned to?
That's great.
And we did
That
allow
is
people to
great.
include Sesame Street characters, but do you know which one I picked?
Oh yeah, Oscar the Grouch.
No. So at first we were just doing the Muppets. Which one did I pick?
Oh, the Muppets. Oh gosh. The Muppets. Which one would that be? Oh, not Fozzie Bear. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna abstain from answering that
I
question.
will tell you,
I'm
I
not
picked Beaker.
Beaker. That's hilarious.
Just like the look on his face and the sheer panic that must constantly be going on. Yep.
I would have picked this.
That you know,
I
you
would
picked the Swedish chef because don't do it.
exactly.
Don't do it. You're gonna get
Okay.
canceled.
Okay.
Don't do it. I know you want to.
Did I tell you? Did I tell you? I was when I was a cadet and we were sailing the Eagle tall ship from England to Europe. We our first port call was Amsterdam, and I forgot that I was in Amsterdam, and I was in a souvenir shop, and they had all these little trinkets. I'm like, oh look, there's all these little like there's all these little like Swedish chef looking things, and in the store, I was like, "Berg, berg,
No.
berg." And then
No.
my my
No.
classmate said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I forgot."
I wish you could see the look on my face right now. Oh my God.
Is it
Okay.
is it like Beaker?
No, no, this was like, oh my God, what a horrendous social human interaction that must have been. No, but I just feel like at work, it's so busy that his hair like all frizzed up and like his face and just his constant look of terror resonates with me.
He's constantly moving at a fast pace.
Maybe what we should do, okay, society, anyone listening to this podcast, corporations, we're copywriting this right now. We're gonna make a legitimate Muppet based business workplace personality test. I think that's my $1 million idea of the week.
Yeah, that's great. Are we gonna do just specific to certain shows, or is just any Muppet?
The whole Muppet crew.
To include Team America?
I don't know what that is.
It's a
Is that a
terrible
character?
movie. No,
Oh, it's
Team
a movie.
America's a movie. Yeah, it's
Well,
not a
doesn't it
great
it does
movie.
but does it have the regular cast?
No, no. Team
Okay,
America
well, we
is
have gone fully off the rails. Why don't we talk about some of the tests and then let's take a couple together and see how this goes.
let's do that.
That's probably going to
Let's do
actually
that.
dissuade people from taking them.
Maybe.
Okay, which one do you want to start with first?
Let's start with MBTI. Let's do MBTI very briefly and then move quickly into 16 personalities.
Yeah, who has time for that? Also, I think it's so
Mhm.
weird that you call it MBTI. You're not wrong, but I just haven't heard that in 8 million years because everyone just says Myers Briggs.
Thanks for calling me
Myers
old.
Briggs. MBTI. I don't know, man.
Anyway, MBTI, really quick. It was, let's see if I get this right. It was developed by a couple of women, and at the time, there wasn't anything quite like this. And they developed it back in what is this, back in the World War II era, I guess. Oh no, gosh,
Wow,
yeah, I
now
think
you're
World War
getting
II era.
really. This is a lot for me. I did not know I
Yeah.
was going to need to take notes and have a history lesson.
Anyway, what it is it asks you a bunch of questions about how you interact with the world, and it breaks things up, and there's 4 different categories, and it breaks things up into things like whether you're extroverted or introverted, and whether you're intuitive or sensory. That's how you process information. So how you interact with the world is extroversion versus introversion. How you detect informations, you're intuitive or you're sensing, and then what's the third one? Third category is how you process the information. I think either with your feelings or with judgment. I think no, with
Okay, this is
feelings
too
or
much.
something
This is
else.
too much. We're taking way too long talking about this. We're not even going to talk about this that much. This is too much information.
Okay, well,
It's a personality test and it is foundational, I think, for a lot of other
yeah,
personality tests.
I think it started most of the stuff.
Sorry. My poor little like attention span, you were listing off a lot of things and in my brain I'm like this is a lot of words. I'm tired. Sorry to all the listeners that actually
Hmm.
wanted to hear all these things. I'm like, "Ooh, we're taking a nap now."
I was interested in everything I was saying.
Oh, wow, I'm so surprised. How could that be? I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these categories we should summarize when we talk about 16 personalities. Like the World War II stuff, let's bring back World War II history lesson.
Okay. You wanna get into it?
Not really. No, I was just trying to like be not as mean as usual.
16 personalities. It's slightly different, but it looks kinda similar, but it's slightly different.
Yeah. I
It
mean, it
has
leverages a lot of the same fundamental stuff that you were kind of
yeah.
trying to talk through. The only reason I was like, "Hey, maybe we don't try and go through the whole thing," because honestly, on the 16 personalities website, also everyone, reminder, Myers-Briggs, as far as I know, is still not free. It's also very lengthy and they do give you, I think, a ton of information in like the report that they give you, but it's not free. 16 personalities, however, is free for like 80% of the information, and then you can pay for more stuff. And as you
Mhm.
know, and as the listeners will very quickly pick up on, I am cheap and I am frugal and I'm not out here going to pay. Also, a lot of organizations and companies and teams and stuff like they don't have extra money lying around to pay for this type of stuff. So I'm a big fan of finding free ways to do this so that you can still have these activities regardless of budget. Anyway, sorry, what I was going to mention is that all of the stuff that you're talking about in terms of resources, which we'll link a whole bunch of these things in the description,
Yep.
in the our framework section of their website, they do have a historical lesson about how 16 personalities came to be and all this stuff, and probably some of the stuff that you mentioned. Did you look at this?
Yeah, I did. Very
Yeah.
briefly. I didn't look at the too much of the 16 personalities. I looked at what it examines more than the history of it, like energy and mind, like how you see the world and process information, how you cope with decisions and emotions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's pretty comprehensive. I like it.
Well, the reason I mention this is because in the framework, it walks you through types versus traits. And it also walks you through the 5 personality aspects that I think you were trying to get at, which is the
Mhm.
introverted versus extroverted, intuitive versus observant, thinking and feeling, judging, prospecting, and assertive versus turbulent. And then they also have the information for 16 personalities specifically about the what do they call it, the type groups, which that is specific to 16 personalities. They've more or less color coded groupings of types of personalities. So there are 16 total, and in each group, wait, that's not right. Math. There are 4 groups and 16 personalities, and there's 4 personalities. I can't. Do you know what I'm trying to
There's
say?
4 within each group.
Yep, that's what
4
I was
times
trying
4
to
is
say.
16.
Yep,
That's it.
there's
Yep.
4 in each of these groups.
Yep.
I need to go to bed. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is they have this listed in a very readable and easily consumable format. And it has the stuff that you were talking about with like the energy and
Mhm.
mind, nature, tactics, and identity. The only reason I sort of
Yeah.
interrupted before is that I think that this lays it out very clearly for anyone to go and read on this page of their specific framework talks through each of those things in detail. And so if you go and if any of you listeners go and take this, I would highly recommend going in here and just taking a little gander, peruse this page, especially with the personality aspect, so that when you get your results, you can understand them a little bit more. I can't speak highly enough about this website only because I just feel like there's so much that they give you for the $0.
Mhm. There's a lot. I like it too.
Yeah, I'm impressed by it. I also feel that it has been pretty accurate, and we can talk about our results. But yeah, sorry. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about 16 personalities?
Nope, it's like MBTI, and, I like it. It's good.
If I were to give it one more thing, is I think that their approach of giving each personality type a character or an avatar. So just because the other thing is it's not really just MBTI. They've assigned a certain character. It's things like, oh, you're the architect, or you're the protagonist, or you're the defender. And each one sort of has an interesting narrative about them. And I think that, at least for me, I could never remember my Myers Briggs letters. But like, I think having an actual character and a little bit more of it being done in storytelling format rather than just like, here's your basic traits about you. They give you a little person and they give you a color associated with it. And so in my tiny little brain, that works much better for me in terms of remembering the character of myself and also my other team members. I'm like, oh, you're the such and such. Oh, you're the this, you're the that. And like in my brain, I can see the color and I can see the character. And that helps me remember more of the stuff about them. And that's a lot more effective, I think. Probably not for everyone. I'm sure not everyone agrees with that, but that is easier for me to remember. And I don't know. I don't know if you feel the same way or if you're just like, I have no clue what you're talking about.
Um, Probably not as much as you, but I do appreciate that I am the campaigner and instead of an ENFP because like what you said, there's more behind that. You can imagine it. You can see what a campaigner's a description
Yeah, look
too.
at your
So
little guy. He's waving at you.
yeah, he is. Yeah.
He's just happy
Yeah,
to be
he's really
there,
cool.
just like you.
He's really fun.
Sorry, I was looking at the pictures.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking at the picture of mine.
He's hiking up a mountain, he's waving at people, having a great
Oh,
time.
the campaigner?
Yeah, I clicked the actual, like, person, and there's a little picture of him climbing up a mountain with some people.
Nice.
Anyway, the other thing I was going to mention too about this test is that they also give you information. This was one of the ones I mentioned before. This is not just workplace, this is also things like friendships, parenthood, career paths, workplace habits, romantic relationships, strengths and weaknesses. Like they give you the whole
Mhm,
spectrum of things. And they also show you what other people in real life or fictional characters have the same personality type as you, which I think
mhm.
is like a fun little thing because that's also a helpful conversation topic when you talk with other people about your personality type. So I have a lot to say about this one because I like this one a lot. I don't think I'll have as much to say about the other ones. Okay,
Speaking of the other ones, so let's move on to DISC.
Disc, let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah, what does DISC stand for again? It's
I mean, I know what the letters are: dominance,
yeah,
influence,
yeah,
conscientiousness, and steadiness.
compliance and steadiness. Yeah.
This is conscientiousness, what I'm looking at.
Oh, is it? Well, I mean, the same thing, really. It's
Is
compliance or
it?
conscientiousness.
Is it the same thing?
The one I took is compliance.
Well, the one I took was conscientiousness.
Let me guess, your C was very high.
I'm a C and an S.
Yeah. So So what it is, it's 100% work focus. The disc is supposed to measure how you respond to problems and challenges and how you influence people and how you interact with them and the pace of environment that you like. And it is, I think when I took it, they even said, this is not for home. This is specifically for work. And it's short. So there's only four categories. And some critics would say, that those boxes are way too confining. There's only four. We're bigger than that, but you have for each of the four different categories, there's a range from 0 to 100%, I guess, of where you are. So you're gonna measure like anywhere from like 0 to 100 on something, and that's pretty much it, and it measures, your dominance, your influence, your S and your C, and the purpose of it and how it's used at work, or how we use it at work, because it's one of our standard things that we do for anyone that onboards and joins, is you get into a workshop and you examine what your results mean and, like, what does a high D or high I means, and then you talk about it with each other, and then you use it to appreciate other personality types. Then we actually have a card. This is what I like about this. It's simple, and we have a card that is us, that is our DISC score that we have at our desk. So when you walk over to any desk, you see what their DISC score is. I think it's kinda neat. And then I've heard conversations when we talk about our customers and clients. Sometimes somebody will throw in there, "Oh yeah, they're high I, so or they're high C." So because they're high C, what you wanna do is, and that's really cool. That aspect, really love about it. So that's what the disc is. What's your opinion?
Well, I'm trying to find my test results, but I don't know if I have them. Definitely going through memory lane, scrolling through my photos in my phone. Oh my god,
Oh,
I
yeah.
found it. Holy cow. Okay.
We'll save your score till later. We're gonna do it later.
Okay, well, I didn't take your screenshots, I remember.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna move on to another one.
Don't you want to know that I was 96 conscientiousness though?
Not a surprise.
And just so you know, the actual thing says conscientiousness.
Well, when I took
Well,
it,
when I took it back in
the
1925.
no, this one was recent. This is 2023 is when I took this one.
Okay, well, I'm just saying. The internet disagrees.
1925.
What's the next one? What are we talking about?
Enneagram. Let's talk about Enneagram.
Oh,
Wanna talk about that?
no, it's my least favorite. No, it's fine. Are we going to take the test?
It is why don't we go through them all and then we'll take the test at the end?
Okay, so I got to tell you right off the bat, I'm concerned about with what I'm about to say and who I'm about to offend. I
Is it me in that?
No, not at all. I have a family member
Uh-huh.
She is so in with this. She loves this test.
Mm.
She will live and die by the Enneagram. And I was like, oh,
Actually, I've met several people that love this test as well. It's like a cult
it is a little bit cult like. That's a great way to describe it. She
because there's a symbol. There's like a what do they call it? There's like the symbol or the arrangement or something. It's like yeah, it's the center of the universe, and they talk a lot about energy, and
where the
it's
vibes are.
interesting.
Yeah, so she loves this, lives and dies by this. She was like, oh my God, it's the most amazing thing ever. And this was years ago. So maybe she's
Mhm.
gotten out of the cult. I don't know. So I took it, and this was so long ago. I have no idea what my results were. And I remember nothing about it. So hopefully you know more about it. Didn't probably should have
Mhm.
researched it and looked it up before we recorded, but I was like, John probably knows, so I will leave it to you to describe. But I just wanted to mention that because I just thought it was so funny that she loves this test. And I remember I got the results, and I do remember that I read through it. I tried to learn a little bit more about this test in general, and it just did not resonate with me. I was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, this is the other personality test that we do at work, and we had an external company come in and give it to us, and they go into the history of it, and it's like in Hinduism and a whole bunch of other things. It's very spiritual. They only touched on that though, so they said some people get turned off by it, and I think they're right. But what it does is just like other personality tests, it identifies your worldview and archetype, what you resonate with, and it tries to get at what motivates you. That's I think the difference with this one. It goes into your what you value most, and then that's what motivates your behavior. It's supposed to go deep. It's supposed to be like, well, you're motivated by pleasing other people. So you're going to be something called an adaptive peacemaker or something like that. Or you're motivated by a creative expression or something like that. So you're a visionary or something like that. So it'll tell you where your core motivation is. And it also tells you you're not all one dimensional, right? Like what you said earlier. You have some behaviors from other different types in the even in the Enneagram. So you'll have something called core type, subtypes, centers of expression, so on and so forth. So it's more of a comprehensive test.
Yeah, I'm just skimming their website, and it's coming back to me a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, it's supposed to go really deep. Some people, there's a critic at work that calls this a horoscope, but
I can totally see why you would say that.
yeah, he says that applies to anyone. It's like a
Well,
horoscope.
okay. I think it's probably a little bit better than that, but
I think he's being a little dramatic, yeah, but
so this cracks me up. I went to their website and says the Enneagram system was invented in the 1900s.
mhm.
That's a huge amount of that's 100 like could you not be more specific? What if it was developed in 1999? That's
Yeah,
technically the
exactly, right.
1900s. What do you mean?
Oh, I forgot to say there are 9 Enneagram types, and, similar to 16 personalities, each type they have a descriptor of each type. Like, for instance, 1 is a strict perfectionist, 2 is a considerate helper, so on and so forth. So you're one of 9
They
types.
have it lumped into 3 personality types, and then they have I guess that's what you meant by subtypes. But so on their website specifically, they have 3 personality types.
3 and 3, yeah, because those are your centers. Those are your centers. That's where you get your motivation
It's
from.
where the energy comes from the moon, and the constellation alignment. I don't clearly
Wait,
don't know
what?
anything about horoscope. That's like horoscopes is all about like the stars and the universe.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
thought you were
Keep
reading
up.
about the
Keep up.
Enneagram.
No, I was joking. It's a joke, okay? God, it doesn't work if I have to explain the joke.
Oh, it works even better when you do.
Okay, so there are 3. There's heart types, head types, and body types.
Yep. One thing I wanna say after you're done with what you're saying, I wanted to add on to something.
Okay, I just wanted to give a quick description of the types because it's pretty
Mhm.
quick. Heart types fall into let's see, they're very emotionally intelligent, helps them connect with their innermost reactions as well as others around them. Head types typically have high intellectual intelligence. and use this type of intelligence to navigate around their surroundings. And body types is usually have great instinctive reactions to situations. This makes them great at quickly identifying whether a situation is developing into an opportunity or a threat. Those were pretty quick, so I figured I'd just read them.
Sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I like those three types. A great deal of research in human psychology and behavior has resulted into those three. I don't want to say personality types. I think they're more motivation centers. That's where you get your values from. So,
We don't have enough time for this, but I would love to find an actual neuroscientist because I'd be curious to know if there's common patterns of visualizations of people's brains who typically fall into these types of buckets, but that is far beyond your and my area of expertise. Maybe one day we'll have a neuroscientist listen to this podcast and they'll call us and they can explain it.
yeah, highly unlikely, but
It won't happen with that
I
attitude.
know
So,
I know this podcast is very highbrow, but I don't know if it's that highbrow.
yeah, you know. Okay, anyway.
So so what I was saying is I like those three motivation centers because we're not going to talk about it here outside of what I'm about to say. They are also incorporated in something called the Universal Model of Leadership, which is what the Leadership Circle profile is about. And that's just a 360-degree leadership assessment that I love and I like to do.
I would say that that's not, I mean, it is a personality test, but it's not. I want to dedicate a full episode to that.
Yeah, we will. We will. Um, The reason why I like it is because the other personality tests don't have this, and I think it's a very accurate thing with human beings. You have a healthy amount of this motivation. So, heart type, let's say, they like to connect with other people. That is great. They're really great at building relationships. But
Not
when it's
me.
unhealthy, yeah, well, you're a body type, so you want to get stuff done, and maybe a little bit of an head type, which is perfectionism.
Way
So,
to just typecast me.
well, I
Are
mean,
you using this for evil or are you using this for good?
it's like the force. You could be used for the dark side or for a light side. So for heart type, it's really healthy because they can form really strong bonds with other people, but it can get unhealthy if you let it control you. And that shows up in if you see somebody who's just a people pleaser and they just do whatever it takes just to get along with somebody else and that other person's taking advantage, that's unhealthy. So love that. And that comes up here in the Enneagram as well as other places like the leadership circle profile and stuff. So that's one of the things I wanted to say that one of the reasons why I like the Enneagram.
Okay, well, there's the Enneagram. Anything else you want to say about this before we move to our next one?
Nope, that's the Enneagram. What is our next one?
Strengths Finder.
That's a unique one. I like it.
Which, by the way, I know you were talking about the MBTI and how you're old and crotchety and you still call it that. Well, that's the same thing with me. I looked up the Strengths Quest thing because whenever we're talking about this stuff, I'm like, oh, yeah, Strengths Quest. And everyone's like, you mean Strengths Finder? And I'm like, I guess that's what I mean. Okay. But Strengths Finder, I'm pretty sure, was the 2.0 version of Strengths Quest. Because back in my
Mhm.
day, when it first came out, it was Strengths Quest. And that's what stuck in my brain because I'm an old lady. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. Thank you for listening, everybody.
So aside from it reminding you that you're an old lady, what do you like about StrengthsFinder and what's different about it?
I took this a long time ago, so I'm going to be dusting off some cobwebs. But I think it's interesting the way you have to take it. This was one of the first assessments that I took where they forced you to answer very fast. I'm remembering that correctly, right?
Mhm.
Don't you have to you got to move. You got
Yeah,
to
you do.
intuition. You got to answer these the
There's your
second.
natural
Yeah,
tendency.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
That, first of all, stressful for me because I'm a chronic overthinker. So, I read a question, I'm like, well, but it could be this. But actually, if you oh, I gotta answer quick, and then you just click something, panic. So I mean, there's there is that. Also, negative for me, you have to pay for it because I'm cheap, and also I like
Oh
things to be
yeah, you
accessible.
do. You got to buy a book, right?
I opened the book just now just to see if there was anything of interest in here to jog my memory. This guy, apparently, he said in 1998, I began working with a team of Gallup scientists.
Mm.
I'm just trying to skim. It said our goal was to start a global conversation about what's right with people. We were tired of living in a world that revolved around fixing our weaknesses. Society's relentless focus on people's shortcomings had turned into a global obsession. What's more, we had discovered that people have several times more potential for growth when they invest energy in developing their strengths instead of correcting their deficiencies. I thought that was a really great snippet from the book, which is why I just read it word for word. Other things in general about this is that they have done quite a bit of extensive research and studies and surveys and polls and different things to help create this. But I do think that from a personality test perspective, since this focuses on your strengths, I think that that is a unique aspect of this test versus others where it's a little bit more. I would say a lot of the other types are more holistic. Even if they don't call it weaknesses, I do think a lot of the other tests kind of show some of the. See, I don't even know the right. I mean, reactive tendencies is the LCP's nice
Hmm.
way of saying bad stuff.
A low scores like disc. You have a low.
Yeah,
I have a low score in one of them. So is that good, bad?
right.
I don't know. It's a weakness, maybe.
Right.
I
But
don't.
like this one in particular is like, okay, what are you really good at? And let's focus on that and let's figure out how to leverage your strengths for the better, which I think is really cool. And so some of these things on here, they have, what is it, 34? 34, unless it changed since my.
Oh gosh, there's a lot. I
Yeah.
don't
So there
know.
are
Yeah,
34, which you don't really need to know all of them. Not really important. But when you take it, they give you what, four or five?
five. You're a top five. Yeah.
And what I think is really interesting is that some of these things on here. Like I'll just read off a couple. There's achiever, analytical, command, connectedness.
It's
I
funny. It's funny. The first four that you read off is funny.
well, I just picked them in order. Empathy, individualization, learner, relator, self assurance, strategic, and then the last one is WOO, and I always forget what that is. Um,
Woo.
It's something for like social people because I know somebody in one of
Oh,
my groups had that and he was social, so I just assumed that that's what that was. Wow, they have an FAQ in here and a VFAQ, which is a very frequently asked questions. That's hilarious.
interesting. I think I would probably have different results if I took it again.
Oh, here's Woo. Woo stands for winning others over. See, I knew it was something social.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I took this back in like 2014, I want to say. So probably like 10 years ago now. I don't remember all of mine. I remember a couple. I'm sure you could probably guess a few. I
Hmm.
don't think you will be able to guess my top one unless you remember us talking about this a long time ago, which I don't know if we did.
Yeah, I gotta look at all the list of what they are again.
I can almost guarantee you would never guess it because I know you have such a low opinion of me.
I do not.
Anyway, but yeah, so the whole idea is that you take this rapid fire assessment. They give you these five, what do they call them? Well, I guess they're strengths. Duh. What are we even talking about? Who am I? Who are you? What are we even doing right now? Yeah, so they give you five strengths and then they give you a whole report. Again, you have to pay for all of this. The book has a whole bunch of other things, and I don't know if the book has the same thing that the report has, but in each section, I just flipped to a random page for adaptability. It gives you like a little summary. It gives you adaptability sounds like this, and it gives you a story, an actual fun little fictional anecdote where it kind of
Oh, that's
shows.
cool.
Oh, is that on your report?
No, well, the report that I have is it just tells you what the name is, like maximizer, and it tells you what that means, and then it tells you if it's a dominant theme for you, then do the following. If it's a lesser theme for you, then do the following, and that's it.
Okay, so in the book, it has adaptability sounds like this because I picked adaptability. It says Peter, who is a corporate trainer. I think I deal with life better than most people. Last week I found that my car window had been smashed and the stereo stolen. I was annoyed, of course, but it didn't throw me off my day one bit. I just cleared it, mentally moved on, and went right on with the other things I had to get done for that day. And they have all these like different quotes from people who have this strength. Oh, here's a television producer. And she's like, oh, 1 minute I might be putting together a segment. And then the next two, I'm doing an interview. And then I'm doing this. And then I'm doing that. And like these actual, I don't know if they're actual real people. It seems like it because I didn't give last names. But they have quotes that kind of help you see various situations or like anecdotes. And it gives you sort of different
Uh-huh.
perspectives about what that strength can look like. And so they just give you these cute little stories that are associated with each of the strengths. And then they have a section for ideas for action, and they have a section for working with others who have that strength. So, how do you interact
Hmm.
with those types of people? So, that's what's in the book anyway. I liked it. I thought it was really good. I've actually done it twice. I did it in 2 group/team settings, and it was really good when we did it with a group of people that we knew very well already. We had already kind of gotten to know each other. We would sort of gelled because it was very fun to be like, oh my God, that's totally you. Or like, what? Like, that doesn't
Yeah.
match you at all. And I
Yeah.
get that,
Yeah.
like, it's not always used that way because I also took it in a situation where we didn't really know each other and it was used to start some conversations. But I much preferred the former, where you sort of already know people and then you see this and then you can really dive deeper and get to that next level of knowing and understanding the people around you. So that was my experience with it. I don't know if you had anything else to add.
It's different. This is the most different personality test. I wouldn't even call it a personality test. I like it because it's better to focus on your strengths. I think this more than any of the other personality type tests could benefit a team because if everybody on the team took Strengths Finder and you shared what your strengths are, then you could reallocate what you do to take advantage of everyone's strengths. Like, so, oh, I didn't know that your strength was an arranger or whatever. Like, that's one of the ones
Mm-hmm.
where that's good to know because then if there's something that needs to be, if there's something that needs to be organized in a particular way in order to maximize the effectiveness of whatever that thing is, we're gonna bring you in on it, and otherwise we may not know that, you know? I think that aspect of the strengths finder is really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I the more I'm refreshing my memory, the more I remember that. I do really like this. Did you do this recently? I can't remember what you said.
No, this was gosh, when did I do this? 2018, I think?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, why are we not doing more of this? This is actually really good. Probably because you have to pay
Yeah, this one's
money.
pretty good.
Ew, money.
Yeah, well, this one's a high bar because they want you to read the whole book. Well, the first
Well,
part of the book, and the rest of the book is explaining what these things are, but, it's a lot of work.
but the other thing too that I think is tough about any of these is that you actually, well, I'll say in general, you should have somebody who can help orchestrate and facilitate these conversations. And also, if you are on a team where you don't have anyone who can do that, it's a little bit pointless, I think. Unless you're just doing a personality test for your own self satisfaction to learn about yourself, like that's fine. If you're doing this in a team setting, it's a little bit harder, I think, especially with StrengthsFinder, if you don't have somebody who's going to be good at facilitating those conversations. And I was very fortunate that in one of the 2 times I've done this, my facilitator was awesome. I thought we really dove into things, everyone was very engaged. It was great. But the second time I did it, it was okay, like here's your results and like what did you guys think? Okay, great. Have a great day, everyone.
Hmm, yeah.
Anyway. Okay, well, there are other assessments that exist. Somebody just told me, or I had heard of this before, but I forgot about it. But there's the predictive index behavioral assessment. I don't know anything about that. I can't speak to it. I have heard
Hmm.
about it. Um anyway, this is a thing. I'm sure there's like a gazillion other ones that you can take. Oh, there's the other one that I forgot that we are going to take together. But I do think we need to probably stop for this episode and we can do it next time. So, with that, thank you guys so much for listening. We will continue this episode in a part 2. Per usual, please like, subscribe, comment, hit notification bells, and if you'd like to contact us, please reach us at theagilecommute@gmail.com or feel free to DM us on Instagram at theagilecommute. Until next time.